This is the sixth in a series of short presentations that attempt to crack some of the current myths that prevail about risk management. The purpose of managing risk is to improve decision making so that it makes it more likely that any subsequent actions we take will contribute as much as possible to the achievement of our goals and objectives. This is the only purpose for risk management. However, unfortunately, there are some in the risk management profession who seem determined to make what is in effect a simple and useful concept into something much more complex and opaque. These presentations demonstrate how confused and confusing is the way many in the risk management profession explain how we should manage risk. The sixth myth concerns the need to conduct what are generally called risk reviews to inform a board or an audit committee of a board what the organisation risks are. Often, this is the only discernible risk management activity that takes place in the organisation. An annual meeting which is poorly attended, where we crank through last year's risk register trying to think of something useful to say to update it. A reporting requirement is never a good reason to undertake risk management. We manage risk to create value through enhancing the decisions we make. We don't manage risk to create reports. The role of an audit or a risk committee is to be satisfied that things are occurring as the organisation intended, as it's stated in its policy statement. Therefore, so far as risk management is concerned, the committee needs to know that when decisions are being taken and being made, at that moment the organisation does have a current, comprehensive and correct understanding of the risks it faces, and the magnitude of the risks is at an acceptable level, which means that the level of risk falls within the organisation's risk criteria. However, it's impossible for a committee to know that this has been achieved by just looking at some historical, probably out-of-date list of risks in a risk register. For example, the existence of a red or orange risk in the register says nothing about the viability, the validity, or the competency of the process by which this has been derived. How does the committee know that the risks are current, comprehensive, correct? What evidence does it have that the organisation has the capacity to manage risk on an ongoing basis as part of everyday decision making? Really, the committee can only answer these questions if it is provided with reliable evidence that the organisation's framework for managing risk is soundly based and continues to be effective. In Australia, the Australian Securities Exchange have for a number of years published a set of guidelines. They're called the Principles that establish the basis for corporate governance in listed entities. And Principle 7 has always concerned the management of risk. The third edition has been published in 2014 and now requires that listed entities, companies, should establish a sound risk management framework and should periodically review the effectiveness of that framework. It stresses that it is the role of management to design and implement the framework, but it is the role of the board to oversee the framework and to satisfy itself that the framework is sound. In fact, it stresses that once a year at least, the board or committee of boards should formally review the risk management framework so that it satisfies itself that it continues to be sound. The footnote to the principle aligns the term risk management framework to the definition in ISO 31000 as coordinated activities to direct and control an organisation with regard to risk. That's risk management, and a risk management framework as a set of components that provides the foundations and organisation arrangements for designing, implementing, monitoring, reviewing, and continually improving risk management through the organisation. The implications of this for Australian companies, and indeed Broadleaf believes for all organisations throughout the world, is that they should be able to demonstrate that they have a sound framework for managing risk. Otherwise, any information they supply about risk to their boards or their committees or any other oversight body just does not have any credibility. That means that reporting to a board or oversight body should focus on the approach to managing risk, principally on the framework and its performance and soundness. Information on risks, controls, and how they will be treated can be used to illustrate active conversations about managing risk, but reports should principally be about the performance of the framework, its effectiveness, and how that is monitored and reported upon. Thank you.